Watch more, feel more. Dell.
Here we go then. The main course of this super sporting Sunday. Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have done a wonderful job in Sharjah to build up in anticipation for one of the great rivalries in our sport. It's for reasons beyond cricket that India Pakistan is so widely anticipated. All that matters today is the cricket, of course, as the two teams descend in Dubai for their first encounter of the 2021 ICC Men's T20 World Cup. This is Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. It's a full house, as it will be for an India-Pakistan clash. Ajit Agarkar is here. He's had his taste of India-Pakistan action in the past. Shan Masood joins us for the first time on our live network. Evening, Shan. Hope you're well. And Tom Moody is here to... Not, we don't need anyone to play referee in an India-Pakistan game, but the voice of reason is always with us. Tom, good evening. Shan, let me come to you first. All set? Excited? This is your debut on our live coverage too. Welcome.
Very excited, obviously, with you and our prestigious guests. First time seeing Ajit Bhai, and I've obviously worked with Tom before. He was my coach at Multan, so I'm very excited to be with you guys.
Excellent. Ajit Bhai, it's been a day for Ajit Bhai, hasn't it? Shahryar Nafees is talking about watching him as a kid bowling at Sharjah, and Ajit Agarkar, who still looks exactly as he was as a teenager playing for India. But Ajit Bhai, good evening. All set for
It's
another
it's
India.
it's certainly made your day, hasn't it? I mean, you needed something to laugh about.
Can
No, no,
I
it's,
can I call you can I call you Ajit Bhai?
no. He's making an age joke, Tom. He's making an age
No,
joke.
never. I would never do that. Come on, Tom. Have I ever done that in all the time that we've worked together?
Not at all. Not at all. You've always been very honest and straight.
Yeah, good man, good man. Thank you very much. You know, it should be like this. This is how it should be. It should be a lot of fun, a lot of smiles. So what if it's India Pakistan? It's a cricket match at the end of it. But boy, there is some anticipation around this one. It's a great rivalry that's been reduced to just these pockets of contests at ICC events. That's what we get from India Pakistan these days. We'll get you toss news in a minute as Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have wrapped up proceedings in Sharjah. Heck of a chase by Sri Lanka, by the way. But now let's focus on Group 2. There's a lot of anticipation from Pakistan. Shan, what are we expecting from them this tournament? They start off against India. Is that a good thing, or is that the toughest possible clash they could hope for at the start of an ICC event?
I think in a way it's very good because Pakistan come very prepared. We've played the PSL in the UAE, then we just had the National T20 Cup where I think each player had about 6, 7 games under their belt. And when you come into this game knowing that the first two fixtures are against India and New Zealand, knowing that with all due respect to the rest of the opponents, a win from these two games can really set Pakistan off to those semi-finals. So, I mean, it'll be great if they start off with a win against India because that'll help them sort of gain that semi-final spot.
It started well for Babar Azam. Shan, I'll stick with you. He's won the toss. Pakistan are going to have a bowl first. Now, would that just help settle the nerves? An important toss, you think, for Pakistan to win today?
I don't think that's a surprise. Having looked at the games that were played yesterday, having looked at the game today, chasing has obviously won all 3 games. But what I did have in mind is I thought the West Indies were reckless yesterday, but you'll probably get a different approach from India. They'll back themselves to play the first 10 overs and then sort of they'll consolidate on that platform and then try and finish off stronger. So India has played cleverly in these situations, whether it was Manchester in 2019, whether it was Edgbaston. India kind of knows how to bat first, so the Pakistan bowlers will have to be on mark.
Ajit, we're expecting more than 55 in the first innings today, surely?
I hope so. I mean, it's the same pitch that they're playing on apparently. So I don't think it was a pitch yesterday. Maybe it wasn't a 200 pitch, but India. I mean, India generally have reacted well to pressure against Pakistan in World Cup games or ICC events, and you expect them to do that. Lots of experience at the top of the order with Rohit, Rahul, and Virat. They'll have to do bulk of the work. You know, the heavy lifting, if you like. They'll have to lay up foundation because there is a little bit of inexperience in that 4, 5, 6. But runs on the board can be handy in big games. It's just the dew, which could be a factor when India bowls second. So that could perhaps play in Pakistan's hands. So may turn out to be a good toss to win.
Yeah, it was anybody's guess as to what Virat Kohli's final 11 would look like. A lot of positions fill themselves. We now know what he's gone with. He's mentioned the 4 players that are not playing today. He gave the vote of confidence to Hardik Pandya. So no Shardul Thakur, no Rahul Chahar, no Ashwin, and no Ishan Kishan. So those are the four that are not playing. And will feature all three of India's seamers, experienced seamers, you'd say now. So Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Mohammad Shami, Jasprit Bumrah all play. Varun Chakravarti gets the nod, and the rest of the team is easier to pick. Surya Kumar Yadav, Pips, Ishan Kishan, for what you think would have been one spot. Ajit, all three seamers, experienced seamers play. What do you make of that call?
Yeah, I think you saw indications that they were looking to play Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. I don't think he's quite at his best, but it's the experience in these big games sometimes that counts. I thought he looked a lot better in that second warm up game against Australia than the first one. Bowls with the new ball as well, and Varun Chakravarti relatively inexperienced at this level, so Bumrah and Shami can then bowl towards the end. Bhuvi does bowl towards the end, but it's the new ball which will help. So you could see all indications that they were going in with five bowlers. Looked like they felt more comfortable having the six batters and Hardik Pandya at six. Whether they are a bowler light, only time will tell.
Shardul Thakur is always a tempting option, Tom, and so many of these Indian players, in particular Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. Now, is this a selection that we can read as Kohli's team for the rest of the tournament? Could it possibly keep changing for each games? What do you make of India's selections today?
Yeah, I think it's he's gone the right way with the experience that they've chosen. I don't think it's going to be set in concrete that this is going to be the playing 11 throughout the tournament. I think teams like India and every other team need to be a little bit flexible according to who they're playing against and also what the conditions present. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty before the toss around bowling second, whether you want to carry too many spin options into your team. You don't want a situation where you're having to bowl with a damp ball when it's offering no turn, it's skidding off the surface. So you need to make sure you've got some strong defensive options as a bowling unit in those conditions. So I think India have made sure that they've got that cover.
Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, someone you spent so much time working with over the years, Tom. Now, did we just see an off-color Bhuvaneshwar Kumar looking at the campaign for the Sunrisers? Are you worried about the sort of bowling form he's in, or are we likely to see a different Bhuvaneshwar Kumar for India at a World Cup?
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting question because we felt as a franchise throughout the whole of this IPL, the first phase of it and the second phase in Dubai, the Kookaburra ball did not swing, not only for Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, but it didn't swing for anyone. And one of the most important elements to Bhuvi's bowling and his armoury is the moving ball, his ability to swing the ball in the power play. No one has taken as many wickets as he has in those power play overs. We know how lethal he is. But if the ball is not swinging, then that presents a problem. But what I've seen so far in this World Cup, I think there must be a new batch of Kookaburra balls because the ball has swung for the first 2 or 3 overs, which is critical for someone like Bhuvi to take advantage of those first 6 to 12 balls in the 24 balls that he's presented.
All right. Now, Pakistan, interesting call from them as well. Haider Ali does not make that final 11. We're wondering if he would. And they've gone with 3 specialist seamers, experienced seamers in Hassan Ali and you'd say Shaheen Afridi, even though he's still young. And Shan Haris Rauf gets the vote of confidence as well from the side. So no Haider Ali and Haris Rauf plays. Thoughts on the Pakistan 11?
Yeah, I think the only 2 questions were whether Wasim Jr. would play ahead of Haris Rauf, but they made it clear in the 12 yesterday when they announced it, and they left Haider Ali there. But I think again for Pakistan, a bit similar to India, they want to start off with their strongest side, and once you name Hafiz and Malik in that 15, they sort of become the strongest batsmen available in that 11. So no surprises. Pakistan opened their cards, played their cards out in the open in the warm-up games, and it's pretty much the same side that played those warm-up games.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix, right? After the changes that they made when the squads had to be confirmed, Shan. For those of us that haven't quite watched as much of Pakistan's cricket going into this World Cup, what makes them a dangerous team for you now? They've gone back to a lot of the experience, yet there are a number of youngsters in this side, a lot of players who are playing their first World Cup, and a number of them who played several World Cups in the past. What do you make of this Pakistan side?
I think having looked at the IPL and then the form of players during the national T20, Pakistan kind of changed the blueprint of their batting, especially. First, they were more reliant on boundary hitters. They had Azam, they had Shoaib Masood. But having looked at the low-scoring matches in the IPL, they drafted in Shoaib Malik, they drafted in Sarfaraz. They got Fakhar Zaman back, players that have played in the UAE day in, day out for the last 4 years. When it comes to the pace attack has been very exciting. The Hassan and Shaheen partnership. Hassan Ali is, ever since his comeback, he's one bowler that's going to bowl in all three phases, and he's going to give you sort of the same 100% in all three phases. Shaheen, he's more lethal with the new ball. Again, if it swings, Shaheen becomes a dangerous customer to those right-handers when he's going to be targeting their pads and their stumps. So Pakistan, again, looking to ball first, and Shaheen might get them those early breakthroughs.
All right. That seems to be the mouth-watering contest in this, doesn't it? Shaheen Afridi, Hassan Ali against India's formidable top order. There was some temptation, I'm sure, Ajit, on whether Ishan Kishan would be a tempting option in that top order, change it up a bit, flexibility, etc., etc. There are going to be four right-handers now if they follow the order of Rohit, Rahul, Kohli, and then Surya Kumar Yadav. Would you have gone that way too? Surya over Ishan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I think it was said that Ishan has been picked as a backup opener. Not that that matters. I think he's good enough to perhaps bat in the middle order. But Surya was the front runner, is the obvious choice. Got a few runs as well leading up, coming into this game, and he's a bit more versatile. I think he can bat at different numbers. And if you need left-handers, you still have a Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja, whose batting has improved so much over the last 2 maybe 3 years. So there's enough batting there. There's enough quality. There's enough power in that batting. So yeah, Surya Kumar Yadav certainly to start this tournament certainly plays ahead of Ishan Kishan for me.
And you are happy with Kohli's vote of confidence to Hardik Pandya, the batter. He made it very clear that we want his power hitting. So even though he may not be the all-round option that he's been for India, which has merited his place for so long, Kohli wants him as a batter. Are you happy with that?
I mean, the ability is not in question. We've seen it before, him winning games, and he's probably not going to, hopefully, from India's perspective, not going to have to play or be out there for too long. Just probably play a cameo. I don't think he's in good enough form, but it's once they've decided to just be happy to go in with five bowlers, then he's certainly the number one guy at number six, because I don't see any options on the bench who can take his spot once India do decide to get. I don't think Ishan Kishan can really bat there. Then getting Ishan Kishan means pushing Surya Kumar and Rishabh Pant down. They don't. I mean, they can very well do the job, but then it disrupts everything. India would be hoping Hardik Pandya comes good, because at the moment he's looked far from his best. But he can be a match winner on his day, and that's what India are banking on.
It's a formidable 11 on paper, Tom. We keep saying that about this Indian side, but there are two things about their batting. We've already discussed their bowling here. One is, of course, Hardik Pandya's recent form, which you've obviously been keenly observing during the IPL, I'm sure. The other is the makeup of that top three, with Kohli giving Rohit and Rahul the job to open, and Virat Kohli at three has been one of the great debates in the IPL, as you know, as to where he best serves the team, whether it's at the top of the order for RCB or batting at three. What do you make of what India's potential challenges could be as a batting side this tournament?
Well, I think the first challenge they've overcome, and that's, finalising what their top six looks like. They're a side coming into this World Cup have got a spoil of riches, and they could go with many combinations in that top 6 and 7, and they all look as good as each other. So they've jumped their first obstacle, and that is settling on what they feel their best combination is. Just with regards to Hardik Pandya, I would have selected him without any question, regardless of his bowling, purely because the role as a number 6 stroke number 7 finisher is one of the hardest roles in this format of the game. There's very few that do it well in world cricket, let alone just in one country. Every country is looking for a world-class finisher, and Hardik Pandya is that. Yes, okay, he's slightly off at the moment with his form, but players like him don't lose it. He'll be able to switch that on. And to me, he's a big stage player. And there's no bigger stage than a T20 World Cup. So, for me, him, slotting in at 6, that just looks like a stronger Indian side to me. Intriguing to see Virat Kohli take a backward step from moving up to the top of the order in preparation for this World Cup. We saw KL Rahul was the one that was, the moving piece in this T20 side over the last 6 to 12 months. But I think the right decision has been made. KL Rahul at top. He's a pure player. We've seen the form that he has shown, not only just recently, but over a long distance. Kohli will also know what he's capable of doing up through. He will play that anchor role and guide the team to whatever totals they need to set or whatever totals they need to chase down.
All of us are excited for India Pakistan, including the pets in the house. Everyone makes some noise before an India Pakistan game. And you can actually on this panel, it could come from anywhere because Ajit's got one, Tom's got one, I've got a few. So you never quite know where it's coming from. But the noise is running nice and thick here. We're going to talk about the two captains, right? Virat Kohli, the batter, who will bat at 3 in this World Cup, or maybe even lower, depending on situations. You never know. But Babar Azam is one of the few captains who actually comes into this in a rich way, in a form. There are a lot of captains who'd easily want Babar Azam's form, Shan, going into this, like Sir Aaron Finch and Owen Morgan. Even Kohli hasn't been the batter he was or he's known to be in the last year or so. It seems to be a perception that Babar Azam's form will coincide with that of Pakistan's depth in the campaign.
Look, Babar's a big match player. He's one of the best players in the world and all. I think he has taken the template from Virat Kohli of being that proper batsman, playing orthodox cricket shots, and yet being successful in the shortest format of the game. Babar's form is very crucial, but I think Babar's always been performing for Pakistan for the last few years. What matters more is what's that lower middle order going to give to Pakistan? Is Fakhar
Yeah.
Zaman going to make that number 3 position of its own, playing Malik and Hafiz together? Babar and Rizwan, without question, without a doubt, they've done really well for Pakistan. They've played a chunk of the overs, so Pakistan's blueprint has been to rely on Babar and Rizwan, and then for others to come off and finish the innings off for Pakistan. If there are early losses of wickets, they have accumulated Malik that can anchor the innings. Take it Ali. Asif Ali's form is very crucial because he's been tried and tested in international cricket for quite a long time. He's one of the best hitters when it comes to the PSL, when it comes to seeing the domestic game. But his international form has been a question. But this is his chance. I mean, and what a great day to start it off against India at the World Cup.
Yeah, we compare the two so much, Shan, in terms of Babar and Virat Kohli. It seems to be all sorts of comparisons made in the media of the two too. But it's an interesting place they find themselves in their respective sides. Kohli sees two batters that you argue are in better form, better T20 hitting form than himself. So he's got to now slot in at 3. There's no one else who commands greater form, you'd say, in that Pakistan lineup. So that helps that decision. Imagine if there were players who would outrank Babar Azam on form and he'd have to then find a place there. You just feel like Babar at the top makes this look settled. And I'm trying to think of whether Virat Kohli at 3 somewhat upsets India's top order. Shan?
I don't think so at all. I think when he's got, yeah, I don't think so at all. I think with Babar, there's probably more pressure on Babar in terms of getting the majority of the runs for Pakistan. With Kohli, it's a bit different. If he gets to bat out early, he'll face more balls. And a guy like Virat Kohli, you want him to face the most number of balls in an innings. And if there's not an early loss of wickets, then you've got guys like Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul, who statistically, when they bat together, they sort of complement each other, and they've done really well for India. So I think India has more riches. For Babar Azam, what's important is because he's consistent, because he's reliable, he wants his good work to be finished off by the rest of the batting lineup, which is the middle order and the lower middle order.
Will it take some adjusting, Ajit, for Virat Kohli to go back to being a number 3 batter in T20 cricket after he committed himself to open for RCB for the last season?
I'm sure it will, but I mean, he's done that. He's batted there all his life, and it's been a pretty long career. So I don't, and he's won India games batting at number 3. So it may take just a mental adjustment, but I think all Indian players come into this tournament with a lot of cricket behind them, T20 cricket. So even though he's not batted at number 3 for RCB, he's opened and and if he's not got big runs, he still look good batting. He's got a few scores. He might have to make a quick adjustment. Who knows if the India don't lose an early wicket and Rahul and Rohit bat deep into the innings, there might be other guys promoted. He might promote other guys before him, someone like a Hardik Pandya or even a Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, if a leg spinner is bowling and there's a matchup against that. So We'll see how it goes. But I don't think it'd be too much of adjustment. I think he's done that all his career.
That's exactly where I was going next, Tom. We keep talking about entry points in T20 cricket, and Rohit and Rahul with the form that they're in. How likely is it, or how strongly would you recommend India being flexible in that sense? If they get a good start, say 7, 8 overs, then or maybe 10 overs, then there's a case for Surya Kumar Yadav or Rishabh Pant or Hardik Pandya to come in ahead of Kohli. We may not always see Kohli bat, in that number 3 position.
Yeah, I think every team, and India is no exception, need to have an open mind to making sure that they get their matchups right. There is a real advantage having left-hand batsmen in your top order, and India have got 2 quality ones. Jadeja's in terrific form, even though he's positioned at 7. And Pant is such a dangerous player. We all know what he's capable of doing. So it just gives them that flexibility to be able to make sure that they're getting their matchups right. Because it can make the difference. But at the bottom line of 10, 15 runs, if a left-hander can match up well against a leg spinner or whatever the case may be, and they manage to go out there and fire like they're expected to, it's a huge advantage. So I think every team, every player has an open mind, knowing that there is a little bit of flexibility with the batting order. You don't want, on the other side, you don't want unpredictability and uncertainty within the batting order. But I think you also need to make sure that these are the matchups. If we get the right time, we will take advantage of them. So everyone's well prepared before the event.
So if I give you the hypothetical for this game today, now you have Imad Wasim, Shadab Khan, 2 spinners that will take the ball away from the right-hander. At what point have you decided today that if this is the start we get, then Virat doesn't walk in at 3s? Maybe Rishabh Pant goes in as a left-hander. Have you sort of made those calculations in your mind already if you were India? Tom?
Yeah, look, I would have I'd have Pant padded up from the get-go. I would imagine Imad Wasim is more than likely going to bowl in the power play overs, but certainly I wouldn't consider it in those power play overs. But as soon as you come out of power play overs, that's when I'd be very open-minded to make sure that matchup is there, just to put the opposition under pressure, knowing that they can't just dictate terms on who they can bowl when they want to bowl them. You can then sort of force their hand to bring certain bowlers back into the attack that they may have in mind to be, bowling later in the innings. So it's a game of chess, really, and you need to be making sure you're a move ahead of your opponent.
What about the pieces that Pakistan have to offer in this game of chess, Shan? They've gone in with Haris Rauf. We look at Pakistan's seamers and how they've bowled in the shortest format in recent times. Haris Rauf's been a revelation well beyond T20 eyes. In the Big Bash League, he's been outstanding. He's good, isn't he, at an average of 25, 20, 28 wickets in T20 eyes. And you've got Shaheen Afridi and Hassan Ali. But we are likely to see a lot of Imad Wasim in the power play, you think?
Yeah. And Imad Wasim is somebody that'll probably bring the ball into the right-handers, and he's very good at doing that. He's unconventional, he's unorthodox, and he is probably going to take that new ball with Shaheen, knowing that 2 right-handers innings for India. It's been a revelation. I think one thing that Waqar Younis did when he came into the side as bowling coach was to bring a lot of 90-mile-an-hour bowlers. He was one of them. He's a product of the PSL of Lahore Qalandars. His forte, his strength is bowling in those middle overs and the end overs with the ball reversing a bit, bowling fullish lengths, has a good sort of bumper as well. It'll be very interesting to see how Pakistan use their paces and phases, because for me right now, Hassan Ali is probably out of the 3 the only complete bowler that can bowl in all 3 phases. Shadab's going to bowl in the middle. The onus will be on Shadab to take a few wickets. When you play leg spinners, you want them to take wickets. They can be a bit expensive. So I think Pakistan have got 5 bowlers, and then if needed, if for some change the 2 left-handers are batting, or even a single left-hander is batting, they might have Hafiz put in a few overs. So Pakistan is quite well-rounded in that bowling attack.
One of the great recycled questions of the IPL over the years: how will KL Rahul bat? Ajit, he looks like he's batting differently than what he does for the Punjab Kings. You'd like to see more of that today, or is this going to be a big game, big stage? Is it going to be a bit cautious and tentative to start with? We don't want to see what we saw the West Indies last night.
No, but I mean, he's batting on a different planet to some of the other batsmen in that team already. For India, he's always batted differently to what he has done for in franchise cricket. He's batted a lot more freely, and at the moment, the confidence level, even that little innings that he played against Australia, he was hitting sixes for fun. So he might have a look earlier on, like every batsman does. I can't imagine him changing. I think he's the most important batsman today in India's lineup, in my opinion. If he plays well, if he scores runs, India will get to a good total. So he's not just because of his form, but with the way he's batting and how aggressively he's batting.
Right. Let's get to what that good total will be, shall we? We were about 120 off yesterday, but that was the West Indies' fault, not ours. So let's go to Tom Moody first up. It's the same surface in Dubai. What are we looking at, Tom, for a competitive game here? What sort of score would India take?
Well, if it's the same surface as yesterday, I said yesterday 171. So I'm gonna stick with 171.
Right, good man, sticking to it. Ajit Agarkar?
Yeah, I mean, India would need 170 at least. I think I said 176, so maybe I stick to that. 176, India would be happy. They've got 5 bowling options, so they would need 10 runs extra. If the dew comes in, 2 spinners have to bowl, could get a bit tricky. So they would want 10 or 15 extra. 175, 176 would be a good score. I think they'd be happy with that, particularly when in a pressure game when someone's chasing.
Yeah, Shan, we're having some fun with specific numbers on this show, so I'm going to let you give me yours as well. 171 from Tom, 176 from
I'm
Ajit.
I'm
What would Pakistan be happy with, though? And give me your
I'm gonna
prediction for the first.
I'm gonna throw in a little nugget. 154 is the highest international score chased on this ground by Pakistan against New Zealand. So anything over that, 155 plus, make Pakistan break the record book. That'll be something India would be satisfied with, to keep it lower than 155.
All right, brilliant. Well, there are a lot of record books that will be broken or at least rewritten if Pakistan are to beat India today. It's a record that doesn't need reminding if you're a Pakistan fan, because it's reminded enough by the media, especially in India. But it is what it is. Pakistan are yet to register a win over India in the T20 World Cup as well. Almost a record or a jinx that's carried forward from the 50-over World Cup. But things could change in one tournament, in one game. It's India versus Pakistan. Tom Moody, Ajit Agarkar, Shan, Masood. It's been a fascinating conversation. Let's pick it up at halftime on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. It's India Pakistan. Sit back, enjoy it, and we'll discuss how many India have got at the end of it.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.